So recently, Derrick Jaxn has been in the headlines because, unfortunately for him and his family, he is going through a divorce. The reason behind this divorce is despite him being a dating coach, a women's advocate, a guru who gives women uh, advice on how to date and how to choose men, he himself was caught cheating despite having the hashtag movement, Black Men Don't Cheat. So he's been caught in a few lies and his lifestyle has become evident of hypocrisy. So he's been making headlines. But let's see what he actually said prior to this divorce on the topic of monogamy and whether or not it's a realistic expectation. Let's check this out.
It's unrealistic because it goes against our nature. As sexually wired beings, we're supposed to want to have sex with whoever it is that we see and are attracted to. So it's an unrealistic expectation that we should ever get to a point where we're not doing that. Two,
What? I've never heard Derrick Jaxn talk like that. Let's see what else he has to say.
in a 40, 50, or 60-year marriage, if somebody steps out of that marriage only 2 or 3 times, then they did monogamy fairly well.
Now, anybody who's familiar with Derrick Jaxn knows that that's not what he was talking about. No, that would be way too honest. No, in this clip that I just played, he was just recapping something that he was going to respond to. The position that he just espoused is not his position. Let's see what he actually believes.
I think the root cause of monogamy not working is the fact that, one, we keep giving these passes, we keep making these excuses, and two, we're not educating our young boys from a young enough age to where they have that foundation and grow up with the proper understanding of what it takes to be monogamous. But to say monogamy is unrealistic is complete bullshit. I'm one of the few, apparently these days, who still believes in one man for one woman. And I'm not changing on that. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments, though. I'll let y'all later. Peace.
So here he gives two reasons explaining why he thinks most men cheat. He says, number one, because there's a lack of consequences for cheating. Now, as he has discovered, since he's been exposed for cheating, men have always faced consequences for cheating. Marriages have been dissolved. Millions, if not billions of dollars have been lost. Men have been killed. Men have killed themselves as a consequence of cheating. So number one is just blatantly false. Yes, men have always faced consequences for cheating. His second reasoning for men cheating is a little bit more realistic. He says number two is from young children aren't trained and taught how to maintain discipline, sexual discipline. And as an adult, that results in sexual promiscuity, a lack of sexual discipline, and thus cheating. Now there's a kernel of truth there because it does take discipline to remain monogamous, especially as a man, because monogamy is against the male sexual dichotomy. It's against our interest to be sexually monogamous. For men, it is in your interest to be sexually promiscuous, spread your seed to as many females as you can. For women, it is beneficial to remain monogamous, find the highest value male that they are able to garner attention from, and remain glued to that man for life. That's what's in their best interest, and that's what's in our best interest as men. So, unfortunately, we have a bit of a clash of interests, and that's where cheating comes in. That's where monogamy and polygamy seem to butt heads. So on the other hand, in contrast to what Derrick Jaxn is saying, and mind you, Derrick Jaxn in this clip also presents himself as, quote unquote, one of the few men who still have the ability to practice sexual monogamy. He says this while he's in a marriage actively cheating with multiple women, we now find out. So his hypocrisy is, not to be overlooked, but just the idea of what he's promoting, I halfway agree with it. Sexual discipline is necessary to retain a monogamous relationship. So if you're unable to practice that discipline, it's probably not in your interest to promise monogamy. With that being said, before I go on to the next clip, I also want to mention the fact that it's difficult to remain disciplined. That's why they call it discipline. If discipline was easy, everyone would do it. It takes discipline. It takes discipline to go to the gym every day and to remain physically fit. Most people don't have the ability to remain that disciplined. Therefore, most people in America are physically obese. It takes discipline. It takes effort. It takes sacrifice to stay in the gym and to remain physically fit. Therefore, it takes discipline. It takes effort. It takes sacrifice to remain monogamous. And anything that's difficult to do, people can be expected to fail a time or two. But let's see what Kevin Samuels has to say on the topic.
High value men, in order to become a high value man, you must exercise sexual discipline. One of the surest ways to derail your high value aspirations is to make children all over the place or be sexually reckless.
So far, I agree with him. He's putting the onus on the man, saying that you must remain sexually disciplined, especially if you want to become a high value man. So far, so good.
There are scandals in the news right now from guys who have millions and millions of dollars who Jake Paul in the news for doing something, being accused of doing something horrific. Oftentimes you see rappers and this and that. It's like, you come on, man. You got to move like you've been there.
So unlike Derrick Jaxn, Kevin Samuels is acknowledging the fact that people do pay a price, including high value men do pay a price for cheating or for getting caught not being monogamous in a relationship. So men do face consequences. And I think most women would agree to that. So why is it that Kevin Samuels gets so much backlash and so much hate from women? Let's hear a more controversial statement from him to understand why.
If Brooklyn 6521 gets out there and has to work and push himself 60, 80, 100 hours a week, focused on a task, dedicating himself for 20, 30 years to become the best version of himself, put that work in there and all the things that come along with it. Does he deserve what it comes up? Well, let's ask, do the Super Bowl champions deserve to profit off of winning the Super Bowl? Yes, that's why the MVP of the Super Bowl tends to get on the cover of Wheaties. They get endorsements. They get all kind of stuff. To the victor go the spoils. So the men who put themselves in the top 10%, 5%, 3%, 1% of men, they have separated themselves by their own work. Do they deserve the right to exercise? The main problem is because many guys aren't putting it out on the table and just being real about it and being upfront and saying, this is what it is. This is who it is. And this is how I move. Well, my goal is to this. Ladies, if you want a high value man, understand he has options. He deserves options. And you should be supportive of him having options and deserving those options. You should tell him he deserves options. One woman.
So here you can hear Kevin Samuels' perspective on cheating. You notice that at the beginning, he's saying that high value men must exercise sexual discipline. Otherwise, you will put your status as a high value man in jeopardy, because you will inevitably end up having children out of wedlock, destroying your marriage. If you have a marriage, you can end up having children out of wedlock. You can have financially drained. You can get sick, get ill. There's a lot of consequences that a man will have to deal with if he is not sexually disciplined. However, as a high value man, men will have options. And by acknowledging it, and especially in this last segment of that clip where he says, our problem is that we're just not clear and upfront with what the truth is. And as we can see from Derrick Jaxn's perspective, or Derrick Jaxn's situation, that is true. Because while Derrick Jaxn was telling his wife and his followers that, there's no reason for men to cheat and there's no excuse for cheating, he said that, but then he couldn't live up to his own standard. Whereas if Derrick Jaxn had Kevin Samuels' perspective, he would have been open and upfront with his wife in the first place, saying, listen, babe, I'll do my best. I will exercise discipline as much as possible. But should I fall short, I expect grace. And if he would have been open and honest about that, maybe he wouldn't be going through the situation that he's going through now. But hey, that's just what I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what you think. Leave it in the comment section. I will respond. If this is your first time watching the channel, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to hit the subscribe. Subscribe.